Many of us have seen historic photos and film from space. Because of technology at the time, much of it was grainy. Now imagine what happens when today's technology can remaster those images and clearly see what actually happened. The clarity solves long talked about mysteries like how far Alan Shepard really hit that golf ball. We spoke to Saunders about that and his interest in space since childhood.
Liftoff. We have a liftoff. 32 minutes past the hour.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
What?
Okay, we're going to be busy for a minute.
Andy, as a kid, you were obsessed with space exploration. You were born around that time. I think a lot of us were. I just remember when man first landed on the moon, I went outside and looked up at the moon and said, I don't see them. This is not really happening. All of us as human beings, I think, are just mesmerized by space. What are your early memories about connecting to that?
Well, I was actually born just after the last Apollo mission. I was born in 1974. The last Apollo 17 mission was in December 1972. But I've just always had this obsession since childhood, particularly with the moon landings. Rockets were the ultimate, and the moon seemed like the ultimate destination. So when I then learned that actually people had been to the moon and walked around on the moon, that just blew my tiny mind. So that's what then, also having a passion for photography, set me on this path of uniting those two passions.
You went off to university, but you realized your strength was in technical and science writing.
Always enjoyed writing. Because my degree was a science-based degree, I started to learn about, kind of getting technical information across, but that's easy to read. If you would have told me 40 odd years later I'd be producing these books, then I don't think I would have believed you.
Yeah. We focus on the photographer and photography. I think a lot of us don't really realize the behind the scenes that can go into this thing called remastering, and that you get that clarification. You find the missing pieces. You can repair even damaged photos. But you remastered the only clear image of Neil Armstrong on the moon. Tell us about the significance of that.
One key thing that I always felt was actually missing is I wanted to see Neil Armstrong on the moon. He's this absolutely pivotal moment in human history. I want to see him, but we couldn't because he actually held the camera. So the photographs we see are of Buzz Aldrin, which seems absolutely insane in today's world, this monumental moment. But that's when I had this idea of actually applying quite an unusual processing technique to the other source of film that they took on the mission, which is a 16mm, it was movie camera. If you think of like an old cine film type camera, small format, inherently noisy, you can't see a great deal as you're watching the movie. But if we separate out all the separate frames and stack potentially hundreds or even 1,000 on top of each other and consolidate them, and we improve the image and we can pull out incredible detail. So I applied that to the footage of Armstrong and I just couldn't believe what I was looking at. It was almost like I'd gone back to 1969 and I was in that lunar module watching one of the most important moments in history. It's an addictive process for someone that's obsessed like me.
I would imagine you're like a detective of sorts.
Or like an archaeologist. It's like brushing the dust off this. When the image suddenly comes into focus, the colours leap to life. It's like an archaeologist probably feels when they've seen something that's been hidden for so long. You
were the lead to finding Alan Shepard's golf ball on the moon.
That's right, yeah. So he hit two golf balls. It's a popular quiz question here in the UK. How many golf balls are on the moon? The answer's 2. How far did they go? We've never known now. Alan Shepard said his second one went miles and miles and miles. We always knew where the first one was, but we'd never found the second one. But by using this original film and applying digital processing to those, because there's such high resolution, I was able to actually find his second golf ball. And rather than miles and miles, unfortunately, it was about 40 yards.
You also helped to solve the mystery of the Liberty Bell 7 capsule sinking.
So Liberty Bell 7 sank to the bottom of the ocean, for those that aren't aware. But Gus was kind of blamed in a lot of quarters and in the media for consciously panicking and blowing the hatch that made it sink. No one that knows the space history believes that for a moment, but he could never really prove it. So what I did is enhance the imagery so we could now see the moment that the hatch blows. And I've revealed some detail in the shadows of the recovery helicopter that basically suggests that it was electrostatic discharge that caused the issue and not Gus Grissom.
Your first book, Apollo Remastered, now Gemini and Mercury Remastered. For people who think they've seen it all, what does this book do for us?
This is the prequel to Apollo Remastered. This takes us right back to the very dawn of human space exploration, the Mercury and Gemini missions. So a lot of people know about those Mercury missions, but Gemini, the missions that were then required to prove all of the key techniques necessary to be able to go to the moon, because Kennedy had made his commitment after that first Mercury flight to land a man on the moon by the end of the decade. They did it in about 8 years. You know, an extraordinary pace of development was required. People will be really shocked to think when they read the detail in the book about the risks that were taken. They are just bursting with human drama. So I want to tell those stories as well as these stunning images.
In fact, President Kennedy made that speech in Houston at Rice University.
We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
Lots of stories, lots of firsts from the book. You know, John Glenn's $40 camera gave the first Earth photos from space.
He went for a haircut at Cocoa Beach during his training, spotted this $40 camera in the window of a drugstore. That'll be perfect. He bought it himself and said, I'm taking this on my mission. And with it, he took the first photograph of Earth from space by one of us.
Wow. And then Buzz Aldrin's first space selfie, if you will?
Yes, the first selfie in space. So that was Buzz Aldrin on his Gemini 12 mission. And it's a stunning photograph, that one, because as part of this process, I've been able to reveal his face more clearly through his visor. Earth is reflected as well in his visor. It's quite an emotive shot, that one as well.
This book is absolutely fascinating. It's like everything, you can pick it up again and again and again and read it in small portions or just stay glued to it. I'm going to end by asking you this question. I ask this to every astronaut I meet. Do you think we're the only ones?
No, we can't be. No, the universe is so incredible. The fact that I always love is the fact that there are more stars than there are grains of sand on every beach on Earth. And when you think of a fistful of sand, how many that would be, it's just an extraordinary number. And no, surely it's impossible. And you see that life in these photographs. I mean, Earth from space looks fragile. It looks united. You know, you can't see any boundaries. So I think in today's era of a climate crisis and division, I think that perspective's, you know, particularly valuable at the moment.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you so much for doing this detailed work.
Thank you for having me on.
You can find Gemini, or as the space program pronounces it, Gemini, and Mercury Remastered wherever books are sold.